You know that feeling, right? We're living in a world that is just completely obsessed with efficiency. It's like we treat absolutely everything, even our own deeply personal, messy, lived experiences, like little checkboxes on a daily to-do list. We're constantly hustling through life, desperately trying to extract immediate value from every single thing we do, basically turning our richest memories into quick, sterile data points. In this explainer, we're going to unpack this tension and look at a totally different way to process our lives.
I mean, really think about it. The absolute second you get back from a vacation or you finally finish a massive, exhausting project at work, what is literally the very first question someone asks you? Or, let's be honest, the question you immediately ask yourself, so what did you learn from this? Or how is this going to change your life? It's a super jarring question when you really think about it. We feel this intense, almost immediate pressure to justify whatever we just did and package it up into a neat, tidy little takeaway.
Okay, let's dive into this because the sources we're looking at today have an incredibly clear, bold message for us. Stop asking this question. Just stop. We're going to explore how this compulsive societal need to find an immediate lesson is actually destroying the true value of our experiences. And we're going to look at this both from a philosophical angle and a hard scientific one. So, let's start with part 1, the meaning-making trap, or how we're essentially manufacturing meaning. Efficiency has pretty much become our modern religion, hasn't it? And the crazy part is, we've let that obsession totally bleed into our internal lives. We don't just have experiences anymore, we want to process them ASAP, like an urgent email sitting in our inbox that just has to be cleared out. We mistakenly expect every single experience to be this finished product, like it should be something we can immediately consume, figure out, and then casually explain to our friends over coffee. But our sources make a really strong argument that experience is actually a raw ingredient. It doesn't just drop into our laps fully formed and ready to go. It absolutely requires time to change its very nature. And this expectation creates what we can really call the hustle culture of meaning. We try to immediately interpret an event, instantly convert it into some kind of tangible value, and then use it right then and there to adjust the entire direction of our lives. We are desperately trying to manufacture meaning rather than just letting it naturally develop. It's like we're forcing an outcome simply because we completely lack the patience to wait. Which brings us to part 2, shrinking high-res memories and the actual cognitive cost of all this rushing. Now, the science behind this is absolutely fascinating. Forcing an immediate lesson isn't just some annoying modern habit. Cognitive psychology actually shows us that it actively damages the way our brains process and store these events. See, when you first experience something, it enters your brain as a rich, episodic memory. It's multisensory, it's super complex, and it's tangled up with all these tiny, subtle emotions. It's incredibly vibrant. But the absolute second you force a conclusion, when you say, okay, the lesson here was X, your brain compresses that beautifully complex experience into a flat, semantic memory. It just becomes simplified, one-dimensional data. The sources use this incredibly powerful analogy to visualize this loss, and it's so spot on. It is exactly like intentionally lowering the resolution of a gorgeous high-res photo just to save file space. Sure, yeah, it's more efficient to store, and yes, you can quickly explain the general gist of the picture to someone else. But you completely lose the rich textures, the hidden details, and the full, breathtaking potential of that original moment. All those intricate layers just wiped out, gone. Let's move into part 3, the fermentation of experience, or, as I like to think of it, waiting for kimchi. So if we shouldn't be compressing our memories, what exactly should we be doing? Well, we need to move away from the frantic rush of manufacturing meaning and step into a much, much slower, more natural process. There's this incredible comparison in the source material that says, rushing an experience is like eating raw cabbage and claiming you know the taste of kimchi stew. When we rush to extract a lesson from a totally fresh experience, we're literally just chewing on the raw ingredients. We proudly walk around claiming we understand the whole flavor profile, but we've entirely missed the magic and the depth that only time can actually create. In this context, fermentation is defined as the invisible transformations that emerge from within over time, but, and this is key, only when left in an undefined state. The crucial point here is that true meaning isn't something we intentionally produce or force into existence. It's something that organically emerges. It happens quietly, totally beneath the surface, when we actually give our memories the room to breathe. That leads us to part 4, the art of active suspension, which is all about doing nothing actively. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. In a world that practically worships productivity, leaving things undefined feels incredibly uncomfortable. It honestly feels a bit like laziness. You might worry you're falling behind if you aren't immediately extracting actionable insights from your life. But trust me, you are not being lazy. In fact, science proves your brain is working incredibly hard. This comes down to the default mode network, or the DMN. This is your brain's background processing mode, which is highly active when you think you're just resting. But here's the kicker. For the DMN to properly process and integrate a complex experience, you absolutely have to postpone defining it. You have to leave it open for the brain to do its invisible magic.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is the philosophical term for the process: active suspension. Postponing meaning is not a passive act. It is a highly deliberate, very active psychological state. You are intentionally choosing not to define something so that the experience can deepen internally over time. You're essentially playing bodyguard, actively protecting your raw material from being prematurely consumed.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world with a great anecdote from our sources. Imagine you're traveling somewhere new. Early on, you observe a culture that has a very slow, relaxed rhythm to it. If you force a lesson right then and there, it's basically just a fun fact. You tell yourself, people here are relaxed, cool. But what if you practice active suspension? Well, years later, maybe you're totally exhausted from your daily grind, and that specific memory organically bubbles up. It's been fermenting, and it turns into a massive, life-altering question. Wait, why can't I rest in the evenings? That simple, raw observation completely reshapes your current life, but it desperately needed years to ferment into that profound realization.
And finally, part 5, building your constellation and learning how to connect the dots.
So how do all these fermented, suspended memories actually connect to shape who we are over the long haul? Well, think of each raw experience as a single dot. If you rush to find a lesson immediately, you're essentially just hurriedly drawing a straight line between two dots. It's simple, it's predictable, and frankly, it's quite limiting. But if you wait, if you let that dot just sit there for, say, 10 years, it will eventually connect with dozens of other dots. It'll connect with future experiences you haven't even had yet, and together, all those dots form a massive, multi-dimensional constellation that is completely and utterly unique to your identity. So, the absolutely crucial point we want you to take away from this explainer is the profound difference between consuming an experience and internalizing it. Consuming an experience means spitting it out as a quick, easy lesson. It fades away just as quickly as you learned it. But internalizing an experience, holding it inside, keeping it alive, and letting it truly ferment allows it to slowly become a structural, foundational part of who you are. The ultimate goal isn't what you can quickly extract from an event. It's how long you can keep that event alive inside you. We've covered some incredibly deep ground today, but I want to leave you with this final thought. The very next time someone asks you what you learned from a big life event, have the courage and the patience to just look at them and say, you know what? I don't know yet. It's still fermenting. Because if you stop rushing to define your experiences today, what kind of masterpiece will they ferment into a decade from now? Give yourself some grace, let your experiences breathe, and thanks for joining me for this explainer.